The distress call. The distress call. In the gleaming halls of the Zilothian Grand Assembly, an air of unease hung heavy. Representatives from across the peaceful Zilothian colonies had gathered for an emergency meeting, their usually serene faces now etched with worry. "The situation grows more dire by the day," spoke Councillor Xylox, his voice trembling. "3 more outlying settlements have gone silent, presumed to be under attack by the unknown invaders." Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. The Zilothians were a gentle race, their society built on principles of harmony and non-aggression. War was an alien concept, a relic of their ancient past. Ambassador Thaler stood, her lilac robes shimmering under the assembly lights. "Our defenses are crumbling," she said gravely. "The invaders' technology is beyond anything we've seen. Their weapons slice through our shields like light through glass." "What of the Galactic Council?" asked another counselor. "Surely they can send aid." Xylox shook his head sadly. "The Council's peacekeeping forces are spread thin dealing with the Click's migration crisis. They have no ships to spare." Silence fell, a suffocating blanket of despair settling over the assembly. They were alone, facing an existential threat with no allies to call upon. Or so it seemed. From the back of the hall, a voice rang out, steady and clear. "There may be one hope," said Jackson, a young diplomat known for his radical ideas. "The humans of Earth." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Humans were a legend, whispered tales of a species from a hostile world, shaped by unimaginable adversity into warriors without peer. Their planet, Earth, was spoken of with a mix of awe and terror. A death world, where even the very environment seemed bent on destruction. "You can't be serious," sputtered Councillor Xylox. "Humans are unpredictable, dangerous. Their ways are not our ways." Jackson stood firm in the face of the opposition. "We have no choice," he argued. "The humans are our last hope. Their strength and tenacity are precisely what we need." Heated debate erupted, voices rising in a cacophony of fear and desperate hope. Finally, Thaler raised a hand, calling for silence. "Ambassador Jackson is right," she said, her tone heavy with resignation. "We must set aside our prejudices and seek the aid of Earth. The survival of our people depends on it." With great trepidation, the Zilothian Grand Assembly drafted a message, a plea cast into the void of space. They spoke of their plight, the merciless onslaught of the unknown adversary, and their desperate need for a savior. Transmitted on all frequencies, the distress call raced across the light years, a digital arrow shot blindly toward a distant blue marble. The Zilothians waited, hope and fear warring in their hearts, wondering if the Deathworlders would heed their cry for help. On the third planet from an unremarkable yellow sun, a young communications officer at United Earth Command intercepted a strange signal. As she decoded the message, her eyes widened in disbelief. The call had been heard. Humanity, the Deathworlders, would answer. The galaxy would never be the same. Enter the Deathworlders. Enter the Deathworlders. The UES Valor, pride of the United Earth Space Fleet, sliced through the inky void, its powerful engines propelling it toward the distant Zilothian system. On board, a hand-picked team of Earth's finest prepared for the challenges ahead. Captain Maravance, a veteran of countless peacekeeping missions, studied the star maps on the bridge, her sharp green eyes tracing the route to Xyloth Prime. Beside her, Lieutenant Commander Finrider, the ship's tactical officer, reviewed the scant intelligence they had on the mysterious invaders. "No known species matches the profile," Finn said, frustration evident in his voice. "Their technology is advanced, their tactics ruthless. It's like they appeared out of nowhere." Mara nodded grimly. "The Zilothians are lucky we intercepted their distress call. They wouldn't stand a chance on their own." In the ship's armory, Sergeant Lena Krieger meticulously inspected the rows of gleaming weapons, ensuring each was in perfect condition. Her muscular frame bore the scars of a lifetime spent on the front lines, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. Dr. Ava Novak, the ship's brilliant xenobiologist, pored over the limited data they had on Xylothian physiology, determined to find ways to bolster their defenses. Her mind raced with possibilities, already envisioning the technological marvels she could create. As the Valor approached Xyloth Prime, the scale of the devastation became apparent. Once thriving cities lay in ruins, smoldering craters marking the spots where the invaders' weapons had struck. The few defenders that remained fought valiantly, but were hopelessly outmatched. The humans wasted no time, their dropships descending through the atmosphere like avenging angels. They landed in the heart of the capital, the Xylothians watching in awe as the legendary Deathworlders emerged, their eyes hard with determination. Captain Vance strode forward, her presence commanding respect. The Xylothian leaders, despite their trepidation, couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope at the sight of these warriors from the stars. "I am Captain Mara Vance of the United Earth Space Fleet," she declared, her voice ringing with authority. "We come in response to your distress call, to stand with you against this threat." Counselor Xylox stepped forward, his hands trembling as he extended the traditional Xylothian greeting. "We are grateful for your aid, Captain," he said, his voice quavering. "But I must ask, do you truly believe you can defeat an enemy that has so easily overwhelmed us?" Mara met his gaze unflinchingly, a fire burning in her eyes. "We don't believe, Counselor. We know. This is what we were born for." As the human soldiers fanned out, establishing a perimeter and assessing the planet's defenses, the Xylothians watched in a mix of fear and fascination. The Deathworlders moved with a lethal grace, their every action speaking of a lifetime spent in the crucible of adversity. For the first time since the invasion began, a flicker of hope blossomed in the hearts of the Xylothians. The humans had come, bringing with them the strength and courage of a species forged in the fires of a merciless universe. The battle for Xyloth Prime had begun, and the Deathworlders would not rest until the invaders were driven back to the abyss that spawned them. The galaxy trembled, for Earth had answered the call, and nothing would ever be the same. Preparing for battle. Preparing for battle. In the days that followed the humans' arrival, a flurry of activity engulfed Xyloth Prime. The Deathworlders worked tirelessly, their expertise and technology transforming the planet's defenses. Sergeant Krieger led the charge, her booming voice echoing across the training grounds as she drilled the Xylothian recruits in the art of war. The once peaceful Xylothians, unaccustomed to the rigors of combat, struggled at first, their delicate frames ill-suited for the brutality of battle. But Krieger was relentless, pushing them beyond their limits, honing their skills, and instilling in them a fierce determination. "You are stronger than you know," she barked, her eyes flashing with intensity. "You have the power within you to defend your homes, your families. Embrace it, and you will become unstoppable." In the war room, Captain Vance and her officers pored over the data, searching for weaknesses in the invaders' defenses. They analyzed the enemy's tactics, seeking patterns and vulnerabilities to exploit. Lieutenant Commander Ryder proposed daring strikes against the invaders' supply lines, aiming to cripple their ability to sustain their offensive. Dr. Novak, meanwhile, worked tirelessly in her laboratory, reverse engineering captured enemy technology to bolster the Xylothians' defenses. As the preparations continued, tensions arose between the humans and their Xylothian allies. The Deathworlders' methods were harsh, their attitudes brash and unyielding. Many Xylothians balked at the notion of embracing violence, even in self-defense, but Captain Vance was adamant. "We cannot afford the luxury of pacifism," she said, her voice stern but not unkind. "The invaders will not hesitate to slaughter every last one of you. We must fight, or we will perish." Slowly, grudgingly, the Xylothians came to see the wisdom in the humans' words. They set aside their reservations, their desire for peace, and embraced the warrior spirit that lay dormant within them. Under the guidance of the Deathworlders, the Xylothian defenses grew stronger by the day. Anti-orbital cannons rose from the ground, their barrels pointing defiantly at the sky. Shielded bunkers sprung up, offering refuge to the civilian population. and in the hearts of the Zalothian soldiers, a fire was kindled, a resolve to stand firm against the darkness. As the final preparations were made, Captain Vance gathered her team, her eyes shining with pride. "You have done the impossible," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You have taken a peaceful people and given them the strength to fight. Whatever happens in the days to come, know that you have already achieved a great victory." The humans and Zalothians stood together, united in purpose, ready to face the onslaught that was to come. They knew the odds were against them, that the invaders were ruthless and powerful, but they also knew that they had something the enemy could never understand: the indomitable human spirit, the will to fight and endure against all odds. And so they waited, their weapons primed, their hearts steeled, as the first signs of the invaders' approach appeared on the horizon. The battle for Xyloth Prime, for the very soul of the galaxy, was about to begin. Of the story, titled The Invaders' Strike. The Invaders' Strike. The first wave of attack came without warning, a storm of fire and destruction raining down from the heavens. The invaders' ships, sleek and deadly, tore through the atmosphere, their weapons unleashing devastation upon the surface of Xyloth Prime. But the defenders were ready. The anti-orbital cannons roared to life, their powerful beams lancing through the sky, scoring direct hits on the enemy vessels. The invaders' shields flared and buckled under the onslaught, the superior technology of the humans proving its worth. On the ground, the Zalothian soldiers stood firm, their newly honed skills put to the ultimate test. They met the invaders head-on, their weapons blazing, their hearts filled with a courage they never knew they possessed. Sergeant Krieger led the charge, her battle cry echoing across the battlefield as she plunged into the fray. Her rifle spat death, each shot finding its mark with uncanny precision. Around her, the Zalothian warriors fought with a ferocity that belied their peaceful nature, their determination to protect their homeworld overcoming their fear. In the skies above, Lieutenant Commander Ryder engaged the enemy fighters, his piloting skills unmatched. He danced through the aerial melee, his ship a blur of motion, leaving a trail of twisted wreckage in his wake. But the invaders were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. Wave after wave of enemy soldiers poured onto the planet's surface, their weapons cutting swaths of destruction through the defenders' ranks. Captain Vance watched the battle unfold from the war room, her face a mask of grim determination. She knew that the fate of Xyloth Prime, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. With a heavy heart, she gave the order for the final line of defense to be activated. Across the planet, hidden generators hummed to life, their power building to a crescendo. Dr. Novak's ultimate creation, a planetary shield of unprecedented strength, flickered into existence, encasing Xyloth Prime in a shimmering dome of energy. The invaders' weapons slammed into the shield, their fury unabated, but the barrier held firm. The tide of the battle began to turn, the humans and Zalothians seizing the initiative, pushing back against their would-be conquerors. Sergeant Krieger rallied her troops, leading them in a daring counterattack. They smashed through the enemy lines, their courage and skill more than a match for the invaders' superior numbers. Lieutenant Commander Ryder, seeing an opening, unleashed a barrage of precision strikes, crippling the invaders' command ship. As the battle raged on, something strange began to happen. The invaders, once a faceless horde, began to hesitate, their movements becoming erratic and confused. It was as if they were not used to facing an enemy that could fight back, an enemy that refused to be cowed. Seizing the moment, Captain Vance ordered a final, all-out assault. The humans and Zalothians surged forward as one, their weapons blazing, their spirits unbreakable. The invaders, their will to fight shattered, began to retreat, their ships fleeing back into the cold embrace of space. As the last of the enemy vessels disappeared from the skies of Xyloth Prime, a cheer went up from the defenders. Against all odds, they had emerged victorious. The invaders vanquished, the planet saved. But even as they celebrated, Captain Vance knew that this was only the beginning. The invaders would return, their desire for conquest undiminished. But next time, the galaxy would be ready. Next time, they would face not just the might of Earth, but the combined strength of all the free peoples of the stars. For in the crucible of war, a new alliance had been forged, a bond between human and Zalothian that would never be broken. Together, they would stand against the darkness, a beacon of hope in a universe consumed by shadow. Titled Aftermath and Accolades. Aftermath and Accolades. In the days following the great victory, a sense of joy and relief swept through the Zalothian people. The invaders had been repelled, their homeworld saved from the brink of annihilation. And it was all thanks to the bravery and skill of the humans, the Deathworlders who had answered their call for aid. Celebrations erupted across the planet, the once somber streets now filled with music and laughter. The Zalothians, so long a peaceful and reserved people, embraced their human allies with a fervor that surprised even themselves. They showered the Earthborn warriors with praise and gratitude, their hearts overflowing with newfound respect and admiration. But amidst the joy, there was also sorrow. Many had fallen in the battle, human and Zalothian alike. The sacrifices of the brave soldiers who had given their lives to defend Xyloth Prime would never be forgotten. A great memorial was erected in the heart of the capital city, a testament to the unbreakable bond forged between two species in the heat of war. As the dust settled, the leaders of Xyloth Prime and the United Earth Space Fleet gathered to discuss the future. It was clear that the invaders, though beaten back, would not rest until they had conquered the galaxy. A new alliance was needed, a coalition of planets and peoples united against the common threat. With the backing of the Galactic Council, the Zalothians and humans spearheaded the formation of the Interstellar Defense Initiative. Species from across the galaxy flocked to join, drawn by the promise of protection and the legendary reputation of the Deathworlders. Captain Maravance and her crew were hailed as heroes, their names etched into the annals of galactic history. They were awarded the highest honors of both Earth and Xyloth Prime, their bravery and sacrifice recognized by all. But for Mara and her team, the true reward was the knowledge that they had made a difference. They had shown the galaxy that humanity, for all its flaws and challenges, was a force for good, that the indomitable human spirit, forged in the crucible of a death world, was a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope for all who yearned for freedom and justice. As the UE's valor prepared to depart Xyloth Prime, ready to take on new challenges and defend the innocent wherever they may be, Mara stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the stars. She knew that the road ahead would be long and hard, that the invaders and other threats would test them time and time again. But she also knew that they would never falter, never surrender. For they were human, the Deathworlders, the guardians of the galaxy. And they would always answer the call, always stand firm against the darkness, no matter the cost. The UEA's valor, the pride and hope of a united galaxy, leaped into the star-speckled void, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And in its wake, a legacy of courage, sacrifice, and unbreakable spirit that would inspire generations to come. The end.